So, you mentioned this budget of $300 billion per year that the government is spending. How much is that? How much of that is going to, African American businesses?
Well, right now, actually, all of what I'm pointing the attention to is going to other than small business. None of that. Well, I can't say none of that. I would say a fraction, like 0.0000015%, because that is the portion of the federal government spend that is spent with large businesses. So those are your usual household subjects, like Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and there are not a lot of minority-owned, much less Black-owned businesses that are playing in that space. The 23% of the federal government's budget that is relegated for small businesses, the Black business community participates in that spend, and they're probably participating in that spend to the rate of somewhere north of $26 billion on an annual basis. But when you think about that spend, and it's important to juxtapose these two categories, the spend that is already categorized and already being proportioned and goaled for minority businesses is already being enjoyed by minority businesses. The spend that I'm pointing our community's attention to and the code that I've unlocked is this $300 billion spend. So we're talking about going into a virgin demand patch and taking our desired share. And the beautiful thing about this is that we don't have to ask for permission, right? This is already legislated to our advantage. All we have to do is get out of the mustard so that we can catch up. And what I mean by that, we just need to understand the systems and procedures that are necessary to capture our desired share. And having created individuals who have taken down contracts that are as large as $1.4 billion, small business set-aside contract award. Michelle Anthony sitting on a $900 million staffing contract. This is a sister in Atlanta. Y'all could meet her. I'm talking to you about what everyone within the sound of my voice has the ability to do. And my mission is to duplicate what I've done on the veteran side of the equation at a minimum with people of color.
Got it. And, you mentioned these numbers in terms of 26 billion and, that's a small fraction of, what the overall spend is. And you mentioned this concept of systems, right? So understanding the system, cracking the code, you've talked about those types of, words throughout, today's podcast. So, what are the other things that are keeping, Black entrepreneurs back from, moving into this space and getting these contracts?
I think that the major challenge is the inability to recognize when you're being shepherded by the wrong assets. I run into minority veteran entrepreneurs in this space all the time who are just exhausted in their efforts to try to find people to support them, because the government throws resources all around you, right? You got your small business development centers, you got the SCORE, right? The organization for retired executives that are supposed to help you. But what happens is these entrepreneurs who are well-meaning get tired of searching for the lane of success while being chauffeured by failure, right? So what ultimately happens is they get not disenfranchised, they get jaded about whether or not the program will work at all. And after a while, you get a cultural belief that grows in a community that area of business is off limits to you, because I've never seen anybody go down that road and come back successful. But in point of fact, it's just a function of them not knowing where they're going and not knowing how to make the mid-course adjustments to get them there from here. And so what I've done, and I've been blessed with the ability to achieve, is create a course that actually provides a step-by-step, end-to-end solution on how to crack the code in federal contracting. A lot of people think that the contracting space is more of an art, right? It's like who you know, right? If you know the right person, they can give somebody a wink and a nod. That's not the way it works at all. It's all governed by rules and regulation. And he who knows his rights has the ability to rule. Here's a little gem about federal contracting that a lot of people don't know. All contracts in the federal government are prioritized for small business award. All. That is the policy of Congress. If you don't believe me, check the Small Business Act. Now, what that means to the person that's listening to me is that if you can demonstrate to the federal government that you can deliver what they're looking for in a small business envelope, notwithstanding any other provision of law, very important language in the federal government, they have to give you the business. That's how we've been able to take down these billions of dollars worth of contracts. And more importantly, because of my selfless act that I talked to you about earlier, going around the country helping disabled veterans learn how to, self-sustain, more vigorously participate in the American dream, the previous administration got wind of my competency with small business contracting and asked me if I could come in and make a contribution to their seminal jobs creation legislation, which is the Jobs and Credit Act of 2010. Well, I snuck into that bill authoring room and I wrote some trap doors into that bill that create a uber advantage for everybody that's within the sound of my voice. Why I'm starting this campaign that you guys are early adapters to hear about, to say, listen, the spook that stood by the door got all of the information. And I want you all to go in there and get that money. It's just that simple. And I'm going to be more detailed about this if they're willing to have me back and unpack this for you. But the point that I'm making to you very, very simply is that I wrote language into that Jobs and Credit Act of 2010 that allows you to become bigger small business and puts you in a position to be able to take business away from the likes of Lockheed, Northrop, General Dynamics, SAIC, the big boys. And if you stick with us, we're gonna show you how.